What your digital footprint says about your hidden self. Every time you think you're just casually browsing, something else is happening behind the scenes. Machine learning systems are building a psychological profile of you that's more accurate than anything you'd admit in therapy. These aren't human analysts studying your behavior. They're neural networks processing millions of data points to predict your next emotional trigger before you even feel it coming. The unsettling part isn't that they're watching. It's that they understand patterns in your psychology that remain invisible to your conscious mind. Think about the last time you felt truly seen by content that appeared in your feed. That wasn't coincidence, that was prediction. Artificial intelligence doesn't need you to fill out personality tests or answer questions about your childhood. It extracts psychological insights from behaviors you don't even register as meaningful. How long you hesitate before scrolling past certain images. Which videos you watch when you should be sleeping. The topics you search for but never discuss with anyone. All of it gets processed into a behavioral map that reveals your emotional landscape. Stanford researchers found that machine learning models could assess personality traits more accurately than human friends could, using nothing but social media activity patterns. Let that sink in for a moment. A system that's never had a conversation with you can decode your psychological makeup better than people who've known you for years. It's not reading your mind. It's reading the breadcrumbs of intention you leave with every micro interaction online. Here's what makes this phenomenon so powerful. These algorithms operate without the biases that cloud human judgment. They don't care about the image you're trying to project or the story you tell yourself about who you are. While you're busy maintaining a carefully curated identity, the AI is cataloging the raw data of your actual behavior. It sees the gap between your stated values and your revealed preferences, between what you claim to want and what you actually spend time consuming. Most people go through life never confronting this disconnect. They believe their own narratives about their motivations and desires. But your digital shadow self, the version of you that exists in algorithmic predictions, knows better. It knows you're scared of something you won't name. It knows you're craving validation in ways you'd never admit. It knows the emotional wounds you keep reopening by the content patterns you can't stop engaging with. The real question isn't whether this analysis is happening, because it absolutely is. The question is whether you're going to remain blind to what these systems have already figured out about you, or if you're ready to use that mirror to see yourself more clearly than you ever have before. Because once you understand how the machine reads you, you can start reading yourself the same way. Drop a comment with "decoded" and tell me if you've ever caught the algorithm exposing something about yourself you weren't ready to face. Hit that like button if this is making you rethink your relationship with technology, and subscribe to learn how to turn these insights into actual self-awareness. How machine learning sees through your self-deception. Your brain is hardwired to protect your ego, which means you're constantly lying to yourself without even realizing it. You convince yourself you've moved on from that relationship, but your streaming history shows you've been binge-watching romantic dramas for 3 weeks straight. You claim you're confident in your career path, yet you're researching alternative jobs every other day. You insist you're not stressed, while simultaneously doom scrolling through anxiety content at midnight. The algorithms aren't buying any of it. They're tracking the truth your actions reveal, not the fiction your thoughts maintain. This is where artificial intelligence becomes brutally honest in ways humans never are. People will validate your stories because they want to be supportive or avoid conflict. Machines have no such social programming. They simply observe behavioral patterns and make predictions based on statistical probability. When there's a mismatch between what you say and what you do, the algorithm sides with your behavior every single time. And your behavior doesn't lie. Research published in Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences demonstrated that digital footprints can predict psychological attributes with remarkable precision, often surpassing self-reported assessments. Translation: you're a terrible judge of your own character because you're too invested in maintaining a specific self-image. The AI doesn't have that problem. It measures you by your actual choices, not your aspirational ones. Consider how often you set intentions that evaporate within hours. You promise yourself you'll limit screen time, then spend 4 hours scrolling. You commit to healthier habits, then order takeout for the 5th night in a row. Your conscious mind generates these well-meaning plans, but your limbic system, the emotional control center, keeps hijacking your decisions. And that's exactly what predictive algorithms are designed to exploit. They know your willpower is finite, and your emotional triggers are consistent. Companies have weaponized this insight. They know you're more likely to make impulse purchases when you're stressed, so they serve you ads right after you've been consuming content that elevates cortisol levels. They understand you're vulnerable to comparison when scrolling through curated highlight reels, so they position products as solutions to inadequacy you didn't know you felt until 30 seconds ago. The system identifies your psychological weak points and monetizes them before your conscious mind catches up. But here's the empowering flip side. If you stop fighting this reality and start paying attention to what the algorithm shows you, you gain access to unfiltered truth about yourself. Your feed becomes a real-time diagnostic tool for your actual emotional state, not the one you're pretending to have. It shows you what you're avoiding, what you're obsessing over, and where you're stuck in destructive patterns. That's information worth more than any therapy session. Leave a comment saying, "pattern," and share if you've noticed the algorithm calling out your contradictions. Smash that like if this perspective shift hit different. And subscribe because we're just getting started on dismantling these digital mind games. Why? Your emotional data is worth billions. Let's cut through the noise. Every feeling you experience online is being converted into profit. Fear, anger, jealousy, desire, insecurity. All of it feeds an economic engine that runs on your emotional volatility. The more intensely you feel something, the more valuable you become as a data point. This isn't some conspiracy theory, it's the fundamental business model of digital platforms. Your attention is the product, and emotional manipulation is the sales strategy that keeps you coming back. Every click driven by anxiety, every share triggered by outrage, every video watched because you couldn't look away. These actions send powerful signals to the system. You're essentially training the algorithm to understand exactly which emotional buttons to push for maximum engagement. And the algorithm learns fast. It doesn't care whether the content is good for you or toxic. It only cares about keeping your eyes on the screen long enough to serve another ad. Your mental health is collateral damage. In the pursuit of quarterly earnings, MIT researchers analyzed viral content spread and found that false information travels 6 times faster than accurate information, particularly when it triggers strong negative emotions like fear and anger. The algorithms didn't need to be programmed to exploit this. They discovered it through billions of A or B tests. They learned that keeping you in a heightened emotional state is the most effective way to maximize engagement metrics. You're not battling your own lack of discipline. You're up against systems engineered to hack your neurobiology. Here's the manipulation that's hardest to see. They make you feel like you're in control. You choose what to click, right? Not really. You're choosing from options that have already been curated specifically to exploit your documented vulnerabilities. It's like walking into a casino where every game is rigged, but you're convinced you're exercising free will. The architecture of choice has been weaponized before you ever see your options. The platforms know which topics trigger your fight or flight response. They know which content makes you feel inadequate enough to seek validation through engagement. They understand that comparison-driven anxiety leads to longer session times as you spiral through more content looking for relief that never comes. Every emotional pain point you have is a lever they can pull to keep you scrolling, clicking, watching, buying. But awareness changes everything. Once you recognize that you're being emotionally manipulated for profit, you can start making conscious decisions about your consumption patterns. You can ask yourself whether you're engaging with content because it genuinely serves you or because it's triggering a programmed response. You can choose to starve the feedback loops that keep you trapped in cycles of digital anxiety and manufactured outrage. The revolution starts when you refuse to be an unconscious participant in your own exploitation. When you understand that every emotional reaction is being measured, commodified, and sold. When you decide that your peace of mind is worth more than their engagement metrics. The algorithms will keep trying to manipulate you, but you don't have to keep falling for it. Comment below with "aware" and let me know which emotional triggers you've noticed being exploited in your feed. Like this video If you're ready to stop being the product, and subscribe for more content that exposes how these systems really work, how to weaponize algorithmic insights for self-discovery. Here's the perspective shift that changes everything. What if you stopped viewing algorithms as adversaries and started treating them as diagnostic tools? You have free access to a system that monitors your behavioral patterns around the clock, identifies your emotional loops, and shows you exactly where you're psychologically stuck. No therapist can observe you 24/7. No friend has access to your complete pattern of contradictions, but the algorithm does. And it's constantly offering you clues about your blind spots. Start treating your feed like a psychological assessment you never asked for but desperately need. If relationship advice content keeps appearing, maybe there's something unresolved you're avoiding. If every other video is about burnout and career pivots, perhaps you're more dissatisfied than you're willing to admit. If self-sabotage content dominates your recommendations, that's not random, that's a reflection of patterns the system has identified in your engagement history. The feed is a mirror, and it shows you the parts of yourself you work hardest to ignore. The difference between being manipulated and being informed comes down to awareness. When you consume content unconsciously, you're being programmed. When you pause and ask, "Why is this being shown to me right now?" you're beginning to reprogram yourself. This shift in perspective transforms the entire dynamic. You stop being a passive target and become an active researcher, studying your own psychology through the data trail you create. University of Cambridge researchers developed models showing how digital behavior patterns reveal hidden personality traits with disturbing accuracy. But here's the twist. You can flip that same methodology and use it for self-examination. Track what content holds your attention versus what you skip. Notice the recurring themes that dominate your consumption. Identify which topics you engage with obsessively versus casually. These patterns reveal your actual priorities, not the ones you wish you had. Don't expect this process to be comfortable. Confronting your real patterns means watching yourself repeat the same self-defeating behaviors in high definition. It means seeing how often your actions contradict your stated intentions. It means recognizing that the version of yourself you've been selling to others might be fiction. That realization stings, but it also creates the possibility for genuine transformation instead of cosmetic change. Because when you stop performing and start being honest about your patterns, real evolution becomes possible. Not surface-level adjustments based on how you want to appear, but fundamental shifts based on who you actually are. The algorithms reveal uncomfortable truths. What you do with those truths determines whether you grow or stay trapped in the same cycles wearing different masks. Turn your feed into a laboratory. Experiment with changing your engagement patterns and watch how the content shifts in response. Test interacting with challenging material instead of just comforting content. Observe how the algorithm adapts when you change your behavior. More importantly, observe how you feel when the algorithm changes. Notice your resistance, your curiosity, your patterns of avoidance. That's where the real work happens. This is the actual subversive evolution, using tools designed for manipulation as instruments of self-knowledge, hacking the systems that were built to hack you, transforming surveillance capitalism into a mirror for consciousness. The algorithm will keep trying to predict and influence your behavior, but once you understand the game, you can play it differently. You can make choices that serve your growth instead of their profits. Drop a comment with "Awakened" and share the biggest realization you had from this video. Hit that like button if this changed how you think about technology and self-awareness. Subscribe for more content that helps you see through the digital illusion. And share this with someone who needs to wake up to what's really happening. Real change starts when you understand the system well enough to stop being controlled by it.